With the Mahinda Chintana Future Vision, President Mahinda Rajapaksa introduced a streamlined program to transform Sri Lanka to be the miracle of the Asian region. And in that regard, he laid down 5 subjects, that is the economic development, that is the economic hub, that is the commerce hub, tourism hub, the education hub, the naval hub and the aviation hub. And today we are here with us the Crossfire, an exclusive production of the Department of Government Information, to discuss how Sri Lanka is marching forward to achieve these objectives. And to talk about this subject, today we have with us a very eminent personality, that is none other than the chairman of the Sri Lanka Foundation, and at the same time a senior economic advisor and a senior lecturer at the University of Colombo in economics, Dr. Ranjith Bandara. Welcome, Doctor. Doctor, first would like to know, are we on the correct path to achieve these targets?
I would say yes, we are. Why would I say yes, we are? You know, this has been a policy debate among the policymakers and the practitioners. They're looking at the policy shift over the last 50 years. Now, you could see that there are quite a few policy regimes we had. Now, if you see the 3 specific policy regimes, just after the independence, we were with more of neo-colonial type of a policy framework, where we were looking at catering the colonial masters who have colonized us over 500 years. And then we shift into a kind of a middle path, where we were trying to have both the capitalism and socialism in a kind of a mixed basket. And then we move into more of a socialist kind of ideology. And then from 1977, we were very much into the kind of a right-wing, open kind of a policy framework that has been prescribed and advocated by the IMF, World Bank, and their structural adjustment package. And then 1994, we felt that the open economic policy, which has been there over a period of 20 years, have not made a significant difference in our economic fabric. And then we were trying to have a human face on it. That is how it becomes so popular slogan, that the open economic policy with a human face. We realized even then that the open economic policy is not the policy that Sri Lanka should have, gaining the economic prosperity. And then till 2005, of course in between 2001 to 2003, we were into very much very liberalized economic policy, which was again prescribed by the World Bank and the IMF interest, and that has been translated as a policy document known as Regaining Sri Lanka. But till 2004, we never realized. This is like this. You know, now when you go to a doctor, the doctor prescribes certain medication in line with certain protocols, but the identifying the optimal dosage, right, have been too long. Doctor failed to prescribe the optimal dosage. Likewise, 2005, we never knew what is the kind of a policy mixture that Sri Lanka should have. That is where Mahinda Chintana came out. One of the significant features that I see as an independent personality in the subject of economics, for the first time in the history, we looked at every possible single corner of the economy and every single possible issue that to be addressed, starting with the unemployed graduates to taking care of foreign reserves, the state, the private sector partnership, you name it. Every single issue to be addressed was there. And then as you correctly indicated, the extended version of the Mahinda Chintana, the future vision, where we identified where to address, how to address, with whom to address, and how to mobilize the available resources in which line. Those are the 5 lines. The Sri Lanka can regain its prosperity by promoting the education, known as education hub. Sri Lanka can be an ideal place to sell the knowledge to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka has been doing it in the past. And Sri Lanka is an ideal opportunity to promote tourism. Sri Lanka got every single possible climatic zone, being such a small country. And the diversity from Colombo to Hambantota, from Colombo to Nuwara, you name it.
Yeah.
You are crossing through a beautiful landscapes with the different varieties of species of natural resources. No country, the country that I have been, I have never come across such a beautiful scenery, such a short period of time. And then the aviation, and then the ports, and also the commerce. You see, Sri Lanka would have been the ideal place some 100 years ago, maybe 500 years ago, to promote these 5 possible forces to get Sri Lanka at a different level. But unfortunately, the Sri Lankan policymakers, the political leadership, failed to identify the optimal dosage.
Now, with the global financial crisis, Doctor, now most of the Western powers, and at the same time, some countries in the Asian region, they tend to, go with the something like the protectionism, where, they look into their economy and, sustain that. How do you see that? How the Sri Lankan economy is moving towards that, especially when it comes to the agricultural sector, the infrastructure sector? Are we, doing that in a correct way? The relationship with the booming economics like China, India, and other countries like Brazil, are we on the correct path on that as well?
I am quite sure that we are. You see, the reason that you have to look at Sri Lanka as Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka might have something to share with other countries and other economies. If you take China, India, there are quite similarities in line with availability of resources in terms of human resources and the physical resources. And if you try to compare Sri Lanka with India, or Sri Lanka with China, or Sri Lanka with Singapore, I don't think it's a very practical example.
You would say that maybe there should be a Sri Lankan model?
That is what exactly I was trying to tell you. The Sri Lanka should have to have a Sri Lankan model with a Sri Lankan ideology and Sri Lankan prosper.
Right.
For the first time, now we have identified these 5 forces, right? That's the Sri Lankan model, right? We are, now it is like this, I mean, don't go for a detailed example, just see a rail, right? Having a good locomotive, it carries any number of, compartment and reach the destination. Now we have identified 5 different locomotives. Now they are in the force. They will carry forward the destination that Sri Lanka to be reached. And again, answering the second question, that the protectionism. You see, Dushan, during the global financial crisis, you and me had series of sessions in many different forums.
Yeah.
And I was one to say very firmly, Sri Lanka will be safer. Sri Lanka will be a safer place to invest. Sri Lanka in economy will never collapse. Why? You see, the Mahinda Chintana, as I mentioned earlier, looked at every possible situation that Sri Lanka would face, during the course of 5 to 10 years, even in 2004, 2005. where we were trying to strengthen the local economy. The local economy is not just agriculture. It's also included local services, infant industries, and various other economic sectors. We were able to achieve self-sufficiency in food.
Is it self-sufficiency or the self-reliance?
Basically, it is self-reliance, right? Because now we are in a position to rely on ourselves. And again, with the crisis in global finance, we were trying to address the local issues locally. That is why we were able to provide employment for 47,000 young men and women who have graduated from local universities. And that is how we were able to keep our inflation low. That is how we have, that is how we were able to improve our foreign reserve. That is how we were able to keep our momentum moving forward. That is how we were able to invest in large-scale projects, the roads, the ports, aviation, you name it. You see, therefore, I would say the Sri Lankan policymakers for the first time, because of the able political leadership, have identified the right dosage.
All right. Doctor, the apparel sector in Sri Lanka plays something like a pivotal role in the Sri Lankan economics. Now, on the 15th of August, we are having the inauguration of the Hambantota Harbour. Along with that, the GSP Plus, the concessionary, the package that the EU has offered, it will be withdrawn on the 15th of August as well. How do you see, how will this affect to the Sri Lankan economy, the GSP Plus?
Now, this is a debate that has been debated in a number of forums. I remember the last meeting that I attended at the central bank. The governor of the central bank quite confident. In fact, I am very much sharing the opinion that he has expressed. Very interestingly, Sri Lanka would not affect. And I am quite sure the European Union revisit their decision. They will come to a compromise, not because of Sri Lanka. You see, why they have moved those industries to country like ours? To keep their cost of living down, to manage their inflation better. They can't produce those products as we produce, because the cost of production for some reason here is lower, much lower than that of producing there in those countries.
But we have some countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, India.
I'll come back to that. This is the opinion that I shared with the apparel industry experts. The Sri Lanka has always got a so-called difficult orders.